how I started investing in property and how I progressed through my own portfolio and where I'm sitting right now in my own portfolio. So, yeah, if you're interested in my personal sort of journey and you've been following me for a while, stick around and hopefully you'll learn a thing or two and at least get some inspiration.
Do you want to achieve wealth and passive income through property investing? PK Gupta, host of Oz Property Investment Mastery, will help you achieve passive income by buying top 5% growth and positive cash flow property and building a portfolio using data without you wasting months of time doing research, spending weekends at inspections, or dropping $10,000 to $20,000 on buyer's agents each time. So if you are confused and overwhelmed by the amount of contradictory information available online and don't know where to start, then this show is for you.
So many of you, you ask me on calls and you ask me in the comment section and you ask me in my Facebook community. You're like, well, PK, how did you do it? And the second thing you ask me is, like, you look pretty young. Like, can we really believe that you actually did it? Because, you don't have any gray hairs or anything. I'll take you through how I started, when I started, what we did, how I got into it, and share some lessons as well. And I'll also reveal to you my age. Not that that's terribly exciting. All right, so let's get going. So the first thing is I basically got started with my my wife, my girlfriend at the time. As soon as we graduated from university in 2009, 2010, we got our first jobs. She was a chartered accountant at KPMG. In hindsight, not that great income, but for us back then, that was pretty good income. And I was an investment banker. I was trading stocks at JP Morgan institutionally for pension funds, for superannuation funds. We're talking blocks of $100, $200 million. I was very, very grateful that I had a great income. She had a good income. There's no rags to riches story or anything like that I'm going to make up in this video. I'm just going to tell you what happened. Now, we're second generation immigrants. So that means that although I was born in India, I actually moved to New Zealand when I was 4 and then moved to Brisbane in 2006. So my parents, were the first generation immigrants because even though I was born, outside of Australia, really I grew up in New Zealand and Australia, hence the accent, which I know many of you guys asked me about as well. So, my parents really did the hard work and all my gratitude to my parents because if you're an immigrant, whether you're from India or China or Korea or New Zealand or anywhere else, you know how hard it is to be an immigrant going into a new country. They're the ones who did the hard work. They didn't give me any money to start, but really my wife and I, we were in a situation where we're thinking, all right, so now we've graduated university, now we're working. We don't want to have to work for the next 40, 50 years like our parents did. Her parents were the same, although Indian origin. She was born in London. Her parents are also from India, did all the hard yards. So we were just thinking, we don't want that life where you go to work. Let's be honest, it's not a 9 to 5 these days. It's a 9 to 9. And you go to work, I think there was some inspirational video that I watched the other day that said you go to work, trying to pay, you drive to work in a car that you've got a loan on. You're going to work to try to pay off that car. You're trying to go to work to pay the suit that you're wearing that you don't want to wear to work. Your tie is like the chain, and you work 5 days living for the weekend, and you spend Sunday hoping that you never had to go to work on Monday. And you do that day after day after day after day after day. And you call that a life. We didn't want to call that a life. That was not our intent of what would make us happy. One time John Lennon was asked when he was in primary school, the teacher said all the students, they're like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And John Lennon wrote down on a piece of paper, he said, happy. I want to be happy. And so then the teacher, everyone else said astronaut, engineer, doctor, all this kind of thing. The teacher asked John Lennon, he said, I don't think you understood the question, and John Lennon said, well, I don't think you understand life, right? And so that's really what we didn't want to go down into the rabbit hole, the rat race of working a 9 to 5 and really just suffering. I don't want to go on about that, but, we had to do it because you need serviceability, right? So we then very quickly decided that we would use real estate as our investment vehicle. The reason for that is because I traded stocks institutionally. As a graduate, I was making six figures income because I was making some pretty big decisions, all based on data. But I still didn't have the confidence to put, when I was advising superannuation funds to put 2 or 300 million in a particular stock or asset type, I didn't have the confidence to even put $100 of my own money into that type of asset type or into that stock. Right. And so I was just thinking, I can't sleep at night if I invest in the stock market. I'm pretty good at it for others, but I don't have the confidence to do it myself. I know that real estate is safe as houses, they say. Real estate is my chosen investment vehicle because I can feel it, I can touch it, I can taste it if I really wanted to. It just feels more tangible. But the thing is that, when I started learning about real estate, everyone was saying that, hey, you just have to pick an area that has population growing. You need to pick an area where there's infrastructure, amenities, closest train station, shopping center, schools, all that kind of thing. And I was just thinking, look, if it was that easy, then why aren't all these 2 million real estate investors in Australia driving around in fast cars? Because they're not. 80% or I can't remember what the number is, 85%, something like that. Investors don't get past the first property. So it can't be that easy. And, I majored in finance and statistics and economics at university in my bachelor's degree. So, my background was statistics, and in being an investment banker and trading stocks for a living and doing equities research, there is so much data that goes into even the smallest investment decision. So I was thinking, if there's so much data that goes into stock market investing, then how can real estate just be so easy, right? And it's not. So then I tried to learn a little bit more. We went to these seminars and webinars. I mean, back in the day in 2010 or so, they don't have, all these podcasts and YouTube channels and Facebook forums. There were some books and things, but, books are always dated. The strategies are like, that's something that worked 20 years ago, 0 to 150 properties in 2.5 years. That stuff doesn't work anymore. So there was really no avenues for us to learn. So we went to these seminars, they'd be in a seminar room or a conference center or a hotel, and you'd all be kind of packed in on seats, and there'd be like free coffee and crackers, and there'd be some person in a nice suit on the stage saying a bunch of stuff. There was a PowerPoint slide deck, and, it'd sound pretty good. It was kind of useful, but then they'd try to flog you off a property at the back of the room for a discount. And, the more that you go to those master classes or webinars or seminars, as we had them back in the day, for my partner at the time and myself, now wife, that just was a little bit unsettling. We just couldn't stomach, just kind of someone selling a property to us at the back of the room for a discount, all that kind of thing. So we sort of lost trust, if I'm telling you the truth. We lost trust in people exactly like me right now, right? Property experts and all these people that say get rich quick. Not that I say that, but you know what I mean. We just it didn't vibe. So then I just did what I do best, so to speak, and I did data. So I compiled all the data available on real estate markets at the time. So we're talking things like, I'm just reading out here, so I don't forget: stock on market percentages, days on market trends, online search interest ratios, building approval percentages, average vendor discounting percentages, developable land supply schemes, building approval percentages, etc., 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 etc. And just really got all the data that's available or was available. There was more than 100 factors. And, it's hard to figure out how to actually use that. So there's a statistical technique called multivariate regression analysis. Multivariate regression analysis, and you can look it up on Wikipedia or something. It's not rocket science. But what this allows you to do, by applying the statistical technique, you can isolate the individual relationships each factor has with a common factor. So what does a thing like a train station actually have to do with capital growth? What does days on market percentages, what are their correlation with capital growth? So then you can start to understand the big rocks in the jar, how to weight or how to prioritize or how to trade off between these factors using their individual coefficients. Those coefficients are born of multivariate regression analysis, and you normalize for autocorrelation to try to understand their individual weightings. It's not a perfect science. It's not a a magic algorithm that I produce that just works every single time with your eyes closed. No, you need to understand it. But suffice to say, once you do that, then you can understand things like the thresholds that each factor needs to be within, the trends or the shapes or the chart analysis for each factor for us to say that, yeah, this is actually strong. You can understand their coefficients. And by systemizing this, then you don't need to look at each suburb individually, but you can look at all 15,000 suburbs simultaneously because it's systemized. It's not a magic software where you put in your first and last name and your date of birth and it spits out an answer. No, it's not like that. But it's not like a black box. You need to understand it to some extent, like an average person can do that. But once you do, then you can actually gain confidence that it works because it can be back tested as well. So I back tested it over 10, 20, 30 years of data, and that really gave us the confidence to start our investing journey. So we knew where to invest even before we invested a single property because it had been back tested. So you can take a random suburb from, I don't know, 5 years ago, apply the system will help you understand whether you should have invested there. And then with the benefit of hindsight, you can see whether prices have increased or not. And then when you do that 1 time, 10 times, 20 times, 100 times, you start to what we call adjust and optimize and refine, not the algorithm, but the process or data protocol. And so that's what I did. And, it's a little bit geeky, but that was my background, statistics, econometrics, etc. Then we just bought one property after another. And like I said, we weren't like, living in a caravan park like a lot of property experts say these days. We were on good incomes. I won't lie. As a household, we were on more than a 6-figure income because I was working very hard at JP Morgan. That was the investment bank I was at. Was working like 90-hour weeks. So we knew where to invest, and then we learned the how on the job. So where becomes a little bit easier when you know the data, right? That's not the hardest bit. I know you're probably thinking where to invest. That's the golden question. That's the $1 million question. Actually, that becomes easier when you understand the data. But the how to get properties under market, how to buy interstate without traveling, how to negotiate, how to get off-market opportunities, how to renovate so you can increase the valuation, pull out equity. All of this stuff I needed to learn on the job, right? By experience. So after buying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. properties, then you learn this over time, right? You make mistakes. So then about 5 years ago or so, still working, at that time now I was working at Deloitte as a management consultant in London and Europe and the Middle East and back here in Australia while still investing in property. And I didn't have a social media presence back then like on YouTube or Facebook or anything. You can see from my social media, it's all pretty recent. But, as much as you don't try to show off on social media, which is the opposite of what I do now, to some extent, family and friends, they see what you're doing, they see that you're having success, and so then they just started asking for help. I'd done it for myself. We'd built up, hundreds of thousands of dollars of equity, actually millions of dollars, and passive income, etc. But I didn't really have the confidence to help others yet, so I was doing it for free, completely free of cost, just to family and friends. And then the thing is, then they started getting some results, and that's really what gave me the confidence to say, yeah, look, actually, I can do this. Like, actually, this thing does work. It's not just for me, much like when I was trading stocks for superannuation funds. Actually, yeah, this works for others and for me as well. So similarly, about 5 years ago when I started helping others, it wasn't a business yet. They started getting results. They started accumulating properties. Actually, fast forward right now, and my mother is retiring next month, which I'm super, super grateful for and passionate about and happy to be a part of, because she was a machinist or sewing machinist for basically all her life as she was paying my way through high school and all that kind of thing, first generation immigrant, and she's retiring. She's not 60 or anything like that, and I'm grateful that because of what we've done, my wife and I, we can actually allow her to retire in her early 50s. So the family and friends started having some success, and that's when it kind of clicked that actually, yeah, this can be one of my businesses. So I created it as a business and just started helping people. I was still working at the time. Now I was a head of strategy at Virgin Australia. This was before Virgin Australia went into administration, no relation to there, but I was there for 4.5 years as the head of strategy, and continued to buy property, continued to help others. The business was on the side, so I was taking clients, helping them, and now fast forward, let's say 5 years, I've had about 450 clients, and this is my main thing. And when I say main thing, I kind of spend half a day up till about midday with my son. We go to kindy-roo, we go to swimming lessons, we go to little kickers. He's 2.5. We go to, just this morning, we went to art class and then kinder music. Like, we go to gymnastics, all these different things. And then from about 12 to 5, I help my clients. That's what I do. I also do commercial development, more passively on the side as well with my business partners and team. But yeah, like if we fast forward, and this isn't really meant to be like me putting on a big head and trying to tell you all that I'm huge or whatever, but it's just really just to inspire, because so many of you ask me, how did you start, how did you achieve all that you've achieved? And to be honest with you, there are probably hundreds of property investors in Australia that are more successful than me. This isn't a competition, right? There's no first place in life. You're only competing with yourself. You only should compare yourself to who you used to be a day ago, a month ago, a year ago, or 10 years ago. Never compare yourself to others. So there's plenty of other property experts that are more successful than me. There are other non-experts, just average normal people that have, done property investing that are more successful than me. But as I stand right now, you guys asked me, so I'm telling you the answer. I'm 31 years of age. So, a lot of you ask me, you're pretty young. Like, did you really achieve this? Yeah, I did. I'm 31 years of age. Passive income is 120K per annum. Active income is, well over 7 figures from the commercial development side of what I do as well. And once again, I really don't, I'm saying this from point of humility. I'm not, actually, we come into this world with nothing and we leave this world with nothing. So we can't really claim anything to be ours, but I'm sharing you this story to really inspire you, right? And you can kind of make of it what you like. A lot of people will sort of think that, oh, look, he's showing off and things, but that's really not my intention. You asked me the question. There's literally hundreds of you that DM me on Facebook, in the comment section, in YouTube, on Facebook, in the community group I have, asking me questions on the calls, potential clients on the strategy calls. So I just thought I'd cover it off here. So we have, 9 residential properties and more commercial projects on top, commercial buy and hold as well. But really, that's been my story. It's not a rags to riches. It's not really a remarkable story. We hustled very hard. I remember, even though I was on a 6-figure passive income coming out of university, I wouldn't buy things like a Magnum, or I wouldn't buy things like just simple luxuries like ice cream or things. Every last dollar went to the next deposit, right? That was my thinking. That was my modus operandi, so to speak. So, anyone who tells you that, you're an overnight success in any field of life, doesn't really know what success is. It's hard. It's not easy, but it's well worth it. And now I get to spend, half my days with my son, the remaining half the days helping my amazing clients. And if you're a client, I'm really grateful that you've chosen to work with me, and I'm always grateful to be able to help you. And these are the single most biggest decisions in your life: where to invest in property, what to buy, even if you're buying to live in. This is the biggest thing you'll buy. So it's kind of very humbling that people trust me with that kind of decision making power or expertise. I'm forever humbled by all my clients. But yeah, I just wanted to share that, really, to share my story. My wife is obviously not working now either. She used to be a chartered accountant. Now she, on her LinkedIn profile, has the title mum. And, that's really something that makes me super proud as well. So yeah, that's basically the story. My LVR's at 22%. Whether that'll go up or down in the future is dependent on my risk appetite. But I'm always buying property, mostly the commercial side of things these days. But I always suggest you start with residential. But yeah, look, I won't ramble on. That's the story of my humble self. There's plenty of buyers agents, I'm sure, who are more successful than me. Plenty of property investment company founders that are more successful than me. Really, success is, it's like beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So is success. I feel very grateful not to have to put on a suit and tie, even though I loved working at JP Morgan, not the hours, but the skills and the exposure to CEOs and things. I loved working at Deloitte as a management consultant. I loved working at Virgin Australia. But really what I love most is spending time with my son, is spending time with my wife, having my wife not have to work, and really, really not having any financial stress. God willing, everything can change in an instance. I oftentimes say this in our meditation center that our life is like a little drop of water on the edge of a leaf in an ancient tree in a large forest. That drop of water can fall at any moment, right? It just needs a bit of friction. It needs a bit of, just a little bit of movement in the wind for that drop to fall down high, 100 meters from in that leaf to the forest floor. So, even though I'm very happy to say that, I'm financially free and all that kind of thing, that can change at any moment. So we should always count our blessings, but that's my story. And tag someone who might be interested in this. Once again, I'm just a very small, insignificant person in the scheme of things, but hopefully my story, my journey, serves to inspire you, serves to educate you in what's possible, and serves you to just take that next step. When we have a really large, hairy, ambitious goal, something like becoming financially independent, it can be very daunting, like standing at the edge of a mountain. That mountain is huge. But when you break that goal into small steps, it becomes more manageable. It becomes more palatable and becomes more achievable. So hopefully this has served to inspire you to say, yeah, I am going to take that next step. I don't really care who you do it with, whether you do it with me or you do it yourself. And I actually encourage you to try do it yourself first, or you do it with a property investment company or a buyer's agent or just family and friends. Bottom line is just do it, right? Just do it because it's amazing. All right, guys. Well, my name's PK, and yeah, I'll leave a link below to the Property Investment Accelerator. But if that's not for you, that's cool as well. Peace.